Hi, I'm Valerie Hector, and in this video, I want to give you a sense of how many different beading cultures this one very modest necklace participates in. I made this necklace recently. It's on my website. I'll put a link in the show notes in case you want to see more detailed photos. But anyway, let's start with these beads here, this one and this one. Do you recognize the technique? I'm sure you do. It's ladder stitch, right? How old is ladder stitch? Well, check out this amazing beaded dress, bead net dress, dating to roughly 2500 BC in Egypt. They've got ladder stitch panels here and here, and the broad collar looks like it's made entirely of ladder stitch, okay? Rows of ladder stitch. The bodice is made of an open diamond network, okay? This piece did not come intact like this. A restorationist named Millicent Jick had to stitch. She had to first figure out how this dress would have looked, because what she found was just a jumble of beads. And she looked at imagery, paintings and sculptures from this era, 2500 BC in Egypt, and she figured out what this dress would have to have been constructed like, okay? This dress is now in the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. It's an amazing piece, okay? But let's move on to this here. These beads here, this and this and this. I'm sure you recognize this technique. It's peyote stitch, right? How old is peyote stitch? Well, we don't know for sure. We'll never know. But certainly it seems to be appearing on this amazing gold beaded belt, dating to roughly, let's say, between 2000 and 2400 BC. We don't know for sure if this is peyote stitch, and we're certainly not going to cut it apart to find out. But this is very likely to be peyote stitch, okay? And the beads used here are carnelian, obsidian, turquoise, and more, okay? But I want to show you what happened to peyote stitch by about 1,000 years later. Somewhere I have this marked, yeah. This is a beaded sandal found in the tomb of King Tut. So we can date this to about 1300 BC. It's entirely done in peyote stitch. You've got decorative designs here. I don't know if this is the lotus and the papyrus flower motifs here. And look at this, a beaded footstool depicting human figures. This is the earliest representation of human beings in beadwork that we found so far, okay? And this is entirely worked in peyote stitch in circular forms and in figurative forms here. Quite an advance from that belt we just saw, okay? Oh, these images are coming from my old book, The Art of Beadwork, long out of print. You can get it at your local library, or maybe find a copy on Amazon for $5 or less, okay? I recommend it. I wrote it. It's good. All right, let's look at, for instance, this here. Do you recognize this structure? This structure? These are bead octahedra. An octahedron is one of the 5 platonic solids. The earliest evidence for a bead octahedra that I found so far comes also from China, okay? These are beaded octahedras made of brown seed pod beads strung on wire. Inside this one is a red glass bead that makes a nice clicking sound. Inside this one is a white glass bead. I have seen older people in China walking down the street, moving these back and forth in their hands as worry beads, in effect. Beads that help them relax and maybe meditate, okay? Modern versions. These are old versions dating to maybe 1900 AD, maybe older than that. Pretty worn out. I have found other geometric structures, beaded structures in China too, which I'll show you in future videos. Let's talk about these ovals here, okay? I did post a recent video to this channel showing you how to make one of these Chinese beaded ovals. Where did I learn it? Again, in China. I bought this beaded gourd, plastic bead gourd, very modest. You know, who knows what it's for? Maybe a rear view mirror ornament, cell phone charm, just a lucky talisman maybe. I abstracted this section here and created these beaded ovals. I don't think these beaded ovals have been made elsewhere in the world, but I could be wrong. I'm not trying to claim everything for Egypt or China or any country. Every piece of beadwork has a story to tell. Every piece of beadwork has multiple origins, okay? Let's move on to here. What is this? This is a bead dodecahedron. In Chinese, this would be called a mei, or a plum blossom, after a certain kind of flowering tree, the flowers on a flowering tree. Here's a dodecahedron here, and where else? Here, and here, and here, okay? 30 beads in each. This is also from China, or I should say the earliest evidence I've found so far is definitely in China. Could it have been created elsewhere earlier? Absolutely, absolutely. But let me show you one of the several early pieces I found in the literature. Here is a dodecahedron or a plum blossom, a mei, shown on this decorative pendant here, okay? Pretty amazing. We could date this safely to around 1900 AD. How else do I know that bead dodecahedra come from China? Let me show you. Here's an old beaded hanging ornament that you could date to roughly, 1900 safely. There are two dodecahedrons on this ornament here, one here and the other over here, okay? So for sure, bead dodecahedra were being made in China 120 something years ago, if not much sooner, okay? What have I forgotten here? Beaded cubes. You know how to make a right angle weave beaded cube, right? Here's one here and here and here and here. So simple, so fast, so versatile. It's incredible, depending on the colors you use and the sizes of beads that you use, okay? Now this necklace is multicultural in another way, or I should say globally influenced in another way too, and that the materials, the glass beads, come from the Czech Republic here, so Europe, from Japan here and here and here, and where else? From China. I'm pretty sure these oxidized sterling silver beads come from China, raw, not oxidized. I oxidize them. They come raw. And the findings, I think, are also made in China, okay? So this necklace really participates in a whole bunch of different cultures. Why do I feel this is important now? Well, as you know, if you listen to the news, there's just a lot of division. There are wars and divisions and people pitting themselves against other people because there are important issues at stake. And in beading, as far as I know, we tend to work together more. We tend to borrow and share and influences and ideas all over the internet and in person too. So that's why I feel this kind of thing is important. And also it's just fun to think about how many different people, beaders really, and manufacturers, makers, contributed to just one piece. All right, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next video.